This is the Word to Stand On for Life with Pastor Ron Arbaugh.
Your word is sharper than any two-edged sword, and it cuts deep into my heart.
The Word to Stand On for Life is a radio ministry of Calvary Chapel in San Antonio. A live call-in show here to help you answer your questions about the Bible and how to apply the Word to your daily life. For more information on Calvary Chapel, visit our website, calvarysa.com. Get your Bible questions ready and call in now to 210-340-9585. It's The Word to Stand On for Life with Pastor Ron Arbaugh.
Welcome to the program, the Date Day program. I'm Pastor Ron Arbaugh from Calvary Chapel in San Antonio, Texas, and this is the Word to Stand On for Life, a program dedicated to taking your phone calls and answering your questions, Bible questions, life questions. Today, especially with Paula, relationship questions, anything on your heart, you need only to dial 210-340-9585. If you're outside the local San Antonio area, you can call toll-free at 877-630-KSLR. That's 877-630-5757. You can email questions to us by emailing questions@calvarysa.com, or you can use our free Calvary Chapel of San Antonio mobile app. And as always, if you are driving in your car, the safest way to call is to use the free KSLR mobile app. Hit the Call Now banner at the top of the screen. You'll be connected directly to our studio producer. Paula, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Rich.
Didn't seem like last Thursday was like 20 minutes ago?
No, I remember last Thursday, and I'm glad that it seems like it was a while ago for me. So, yeah, thank you. No. But tomorrow you'll say, we've come to the end of another week. That seems like it comes really fast. So, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I want to forget last Thursday. So, but yeah, no, everything's fine today. I'm good.
I told the audience yesterday that we're in the middle. This is our busy 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Yesterday we got to go to the teachers' appreciation, staff appreciation for our academy. It was our 25th year. We have one staff member who got a 25-year service certificate. She'd been here from the very first day in the of the academy and been through all of the times. Pretty awesome. Very
awesome. And she was here before that. We just didn't have a school for her to work at. Yeah. But I remember when she first started. Well, we hired her to be the child care worker because after we met in the apartment complex, then we moved to the big church at the daycare center. We could have 2 services. Yeah. And used to set up the chairs and stuff like that. But anyway, we needed child care. And so we hired Vanessa and Mary, 2 unbelievers. I mean, but they knew how to take care of kids.
They were the employees of the daycare center.
That's right, and they were right there, so we could keep an eye on them. You know, but I think 2 of the kids were Vanessa's herself, and her mom said, "No, if you want to work here, this is what you get to do." You know, and we paid them, and to think, you know, she was the one that asked me one time. Because her mom would ask me to come down and do a Bible study at the daycare center because those girls were not coming to church. And so, what do you have to be so happy about? I love telling the story. She just pushed me on my chest and knocked me up against the wall. And I was like, well, I'm going to heaven and I don't deserve it, you know. And, I said, you can't offend me. I'm going to love you. So just kind of basically get over it. I'm going to keep loving you no matter what you say or do to me. I think that infuriated her a little bit even more, but to think that's the person who's in charge of Martha's Kitchen, and you know, she's the one that came up with, can we have a church Christmas dinner? And oh my goodness, she's just an amazing, full of love, and that was the problem. She didn't know her value in her first marriage. She didn't know her value. She hadn't really experienced what true love really was. And so she would just hurting, and hurting people hurt people. And just the scowl on her face, the darkness in her life, and she's the one that I want a camera, especially.
I remember, Paula, you took a picture of her. You had it blown up.
Yeah.
You took Vanessa with you. You were doing a women's retreat in Boise, Idaho. And you took Vanessa with you. And with her permission, you had this old picture of the old looking like death Vanessa, and then the new Vanessa that everybody could see with life, the life of the Spirit after she was born again.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. And we made a huge poster with a poem that she put on there as well. So you could see before Christ, and then this poem's in the middle, and then the after Christ, the before Christ. Don't make her mad, because she was going if you were a Christian, you were going to go see Jesus sooner than you thought if you mess with her. But after Christ, just the light and the lightness in her was just, I love this word you use, palpable. You could see it. It was just so obvious. And so even when we showed the poster and Vanessa shared her testimony, and I'm sure people were like, no way. But looking at that poster, oh, yeah, I get it now.
And Mary, the other girl you mentioned at the beginning at the daycare center, she was 16 when she was working at the daycare center. We hired her to watch kids on Sundays and Wednesday nights. And she's been, she got saved pretty much the same time. And she's been, I think, 23 or 4 years here at the academy. So she's grown up and just the things that God allows us to be a part of are amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To look out yesterday at that staff, and I say this often about them. They truly understand what sacrifice is. They're not guaranteed getting paid for the whole time. I mean, we pay them, but we can't pay them what they're worth, and there have been many times, we're going through some of those times right now, where we didn't have the money to pay them at all. We had to say, I'm sorry, and they all get it, and how faithful they've been. And we've got real longevity in our school staff. It's like very little turnover, and when we do have new people, it's because we have new needs. So it's just, I was just so blessed.
I know. I've been crying this whole week. Saturday was the Art Expo. Excuse me, so fancy, right? Sounds so fancy. Art Expo. And I told you when I left home, we had church prayer, pastor discipleship class. We ran and got something to eat and got home about 1:45. The Art Expo started at 3. So I sat down with you for just a little bit at the house. And I thought, ooh, I'm so tired. It's time to chill. But so I said to you when I left, I'm just going to run over here. How long can it take to look at some, a few art pieces, and I'll be right back. I'm thinking half hour. It was 5 o'clock, and I'm still walking around in awe. I think I cried from 3-something till it's time to go. Okay, the Art Expo's over, Mama Paula. If you want, it's time to go. Blown away. You're talking about the benefit, and the kids, the graduates, will talk to the church on next Friday night, because everything we do here is free, but our church is very generous, and they're going to see and hear from these kids who have benefited from the generosity of the body. But being at the Art Expo, Pastor Ron, some of these kids came in not saved. Some, how some people think, I don't even have a gift. I don't know how to do anything. And yet, they're great artists and different in every way. And let me pick up my paper that I just dropped. Sorry. First annual Art Expo. One of the kids said, art to me is a way of expressing yourself, something that just can't be experienced through words. I don't have much experience in art. This year I have learned so much and have bonded with my classmates, using one of your words, exponentially. It's a 10th grader. You know about exponentially, you know. An 11th grader says, art to me is and I know we know these kids. Some are outgoing, and some, I don't think, one of these kids, I never heard him really talk except, hi, you know, kind of like that. And when I went to one of the art classes that Stephen did with pottery, this young man that I'm talking about, he was explaining what his art was about, and my jaw dropped. I'm like, wow, he can put sentences together. It was amazing. Anyway, this one says, I came into art class thinking it would just be an easy way to improve my drawing. But it has proven me wrong, and I personally believe it improved many other skills as well as being able to think deeper on a spiritual level, giving more of my pieces a deeper meaning than I thought. And you should have seen some of the pieces. I have pictures, but unfortunately out there in radio land, you can't see them. You should have come to the art expo. Another child says, I love creating art, and this kid is, well, all of them are good, but there are some that, you know, have a different, like, notch up. He says, I love creating art. I like making cool drawings. One of the pictures that I have one of the paintings that I have a picture of, it was cool Jesus. Got his legs crossed, and he's kind of leaning back, and he's like, come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. You know, it's not a stern-looking Jesus or anything like that. It's almost kind of hippie-ish in the background. But he says he likes to make cool drawings, paintings, etc., that I hope people will enjoy. Art has taught me a lot about my walk with the Lord and expressing myself. He's 11, in 11th grade, I mean. We have a Chinese student, a girl. Art to me is a language, a form that can express without sound or image. I mean, her English is pretty good. It's really pretty good. But she still has a pretty heavy accent. And you can tell she's kind of uncomfortable with the English, but she's really amazing. 11th grader. I would never have thought this one would, he's athletic and he's funny, but he says, art to me is something I am able to admire and understand, but not create. I've never been naturally talented at art, not patient enough to hone my skill, but I can definitely say art is fun. And his drawings were definitely fun. This young man that just got saved a couple of weeks ago, art to me is a way to get away from my life's problems and to release all my stress in a fun and cool way. And in one of the pictures that I took of him, one of his pictures, it says, it's a picture of him, in clay form, with all dark clothes on, a black hoodie. He's looking down, you know, kind of like just totally depressed. And then the back of that is a red heart that's cracked in the middle, like a broken heart. Mm-hmm. And the art teacher said his is the only one of all 8 of these kids that the paint start crackling off of it, like really broken pieces. And the day that he created or the time that he had created all this, he was not saved. And in that classroom, he did his presentation, and he let us know that he wasn't saved. And so everybody's been praying, you know, like crazy. God knew what was going to happen. Well, this artwork, when I went to see in his classroom, and I knew he had gotten saved, but he wanted to make sure that I knew. I said, oh, yeah, this one I saw. He said, but it's different. I said, what's different? He goes, read the bottom of it. And I have it on my phone, but I should have had that ready. But it's talking about how art has helped him to express himself, and he has recently found out that he had just given his heartbroken self to Jesus, and he turned to Jesus, and Jesus turned to him, and now everything is different. His life makes sense. He knows that he is loved. And then in another one, he said, being here in this body of Christ, he knows he's never going to be alone, even if he's not here because he's going to join the Marines. Even if he's not here, he knows from now on he will never be alone, that he has people that are definitely on his side. I mean, it was just, see what I'm talking about as these kids, and they're telling their stories in all of their presentations, and I'm thinking, who wouldn't want this school, you know? Yeah. Who wouldn't? Yeah. And these kids are just getting it. They're getting it, Pastor Ron. The teachers here, I've always thought teachers are heroes. And they give up their time, their talent, their treasure. I mean, even when we were going through COVID, these teachers, same teachers we have now, were teaching the kids online, sometimes till 3 and 4 in the morning, because they got to, interact with all of them. And then when we were able to come back and meet, but we had to be like 6 feet away from everybody, so we couldn't have everybody at school at the same time. So the teachers were teaching remotely and in person. These people give and give and give, and these kids know that they matter.
I was talking to Pastor Ed, who is our Spanish language pastor. On Sunday nights at 5 o'clock, we have Spanish Calvary Chapel. Mm-hmm. And Pastor Ed, he really is an artist. I mean, he has showings and galleries and things like that. And he just retired to do this full time now, but he was a university art professor. Yeah. And he came to me and he said, Pastor Ron, I just can't believe the level of talent with some of these kids. I was shocked. And he said, you're art teachers, and we have, I guess, 2 of them.
One's going to retire. One just retired after 11 years.
And I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until that day.
Okay. Well, anyway, he said, your teachers, they come at it from different perspectives, and it's really, really good, and they really know their stuff. Yeah. So,
Ron, I'm telling you, I was blown away. And I was like, I kept telling the people, don't talk to me right now. Just don't talk to me right now, because I kept crying, looking like a fool. One of the kids, I got a picture here in my hand, and they had to pick a scripture, and this one is the shepherds, where, the angel says, I bring you good news of great joy. And the shepherds are lowly. In this picture, they are lowly. And so one of the guys picked 2 of his friends and painted them as 2 of the shepherds. It is, I'm looking at it right now. One is Joseph, and the other one's Jaden, Arlene's son. And they were raggedy looking, but just real homely. But yet, and then the sheep standing next to him is bigger than they are, because it's close up. Like the sheep was like, "Oh, they're taking my picture." But I mean, so detailed, and his was. That's how I feel sometimes, like I'm that lowly shepherd, and yet God loves me so much that He would send a special messenger just to lowly shepherds to speak of His one and only beloved Son, how important He is, and then He comes to a lowly person like me. I mean, I was like, oh my goodness, you guys get it. You get it. You really get it.
Yeah, Paul, when we think about we'll change gears on the other side of the break, but okay. When we think about all the things that God has allowed us to be a part of, when we started this free school and everybody, including me, thought it was crazy. I just was sure that that's what God wanted us to do, and nobody thought it would last. Last night in our Wednesday night worship service, when I got out there, 3 of our graduating seniors were leading the worship.
Yes.
And, I call them the Three Musketeers because they've been literally best friends, 2 girls and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them live next door to each other, and then the other one lives like two doors down.
Yeah, no, he lives 300 steps.
300
Yes, exactly. It's 300 steps down the road.
They've been best friends forever. And to see those kids and knowing all the things that they've experienced, and to see the joy with which they were singing, just that made it worthwhile.
Joy and the confidence, just the confidence that they're accepted in the beloved, they're loved by their families, they're a vital part of Calvary Chapel San Antonio, and they know it.
Yeah.
Because we've all let them know. I love the fact that we don't have just different groups, You kids stay over there and the old people over here. No, we're all a part. I've told a couple of elderly ladies who I've only seen them maybe 2 or 3 times, and I said, where y'all been? Well, I don't know if you go to another church, but this should be your church, because it's the best. And it's the people. The people here are just the best. And I'm privileged to come here. Thank you.
Those kids, and I'll have the graduating seniors on the program a week from yesterday. Mm-hmm. So this coming Wednesday, the graduating seniors will be on the air, and it's always a neat time. We have 13 graduates in this class, which is our biggest graduating class.
Yeah.
I think all of those kids except 1 or maybe 2 have been here the whole time since kindergarten.
Yeah.
And just to watch them grow up and see what the Lord has been doing, it really is a privilege to be a part of doing this. It's been hard. I mean, free school costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. We're not a mega church, and we don't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But God has sustained this school and these children for all of these years, and it just...
What a life, right?
The sacrifices that we make turn out not to be sacrifices at all.
I know. And it's really cool right now. So many of the college kids who have graduated from here, they're out of school, but they're back here. And
one of the neat things that we got alumni
that's right.
doing the chapel services for these last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And, these are kids that have left here and come back because they want to be a part. They want to serve.
Yeah.
And we've got a list of them doing the chapel services.
Upper and lower.
Upper and lower grades. Yeah. So it's the kids get saved. They fall in love with Jesus, and God is able to use them. So it's really a neat thing.
I love it. I'm telling you, I was crying the whole time. Just so proud. Yeah, Ashley had it this week. Hope, Evan, Miss whole list. Samantha, Evan again, Caleb, Michaela, Amber, Veronica, Kim, Pastor Chris, Daniel, Rebecca, Victoria, Erica in there, Chris in there. That's for the next few weeks. Upper and lower doing the chapel. They all went to school here and has graduated.
Yeah, and they want to come back and be a participant.
Yeah.
One of the things, and we don't have time to really develop this, but just so I can throw it out. Yeah. We've got kids that would here who would have been bullied mercilessly in public schools.
Yeah.
And some of those kids, I always think of Tristan, because Tristan was so smart, but he was just different. And he would have been bullied mercilessly. Well, he's like an honor student at a New York university, and absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he just graduated last week.
Yeah, and he just graduated from college.
Yeah.
And he's still every summer. Yeah. He's back and serving and doing things. It's just you can see that. These kids know that the hand of God has been involved in shaping and moving their lives to the places where they are right now.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. I'm just shaking my head. I'm so cool. I'm so cool. I'm so thrilled with what's happened. Let me just read what this one girl says. She says, art to me is something I can explain without using words. It is a beautiful and creative way to express myself and connect with others on a deeper level. Through art, I can see things from another perspective. As they were drawing or painting or working with the clay and stuff, they're either listening to one of your studies or, in fact, pretty much every one of them said from Pastor Ron's study or Dr. Sheba's study or even one of my studies, they created their art just through listening and thinking and putting it either on paper or in. Just amazing.
I don't understand that kind of creativity.
Me either.
Hey, we'll change gears now in the second half of the program. We'd love any questions or comments. 210-340-9585 or toll free 877-630-KSLR. This is the Date Day edition of the Word to Stand On for Life. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to the Word to Stand On for Life. We're taking your calls at 340-9585 or toll free 877-630-KSLR. Now, here's Pastor Ron Arbaugh.
Welcome back to the second half of our Date Day edition of the Word to Stand On for Life. 210-340-9585. Paula, it's all yours. Where are we going now?
Well, one of our callers, since I'm on here now, and was asking, how do you encourage an encourager who needs to be encouraged? And I loved your answer because that's kind of what we're talking about too. But I was thinking in Hebrews 10:24 and 25, it says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds." And so, that was a really sweet question. And as an encourager, and every once in a while the encouragers get a little overwhelmed, and so it was sweet of that caller. And I love you. I think I know who you are. But consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. And even last Thursday, as I was kind of struggling, the Lord used you to help spur me on to love and good deeds, because here we are. It just, because if I would have stayed home, it would have been worse. But I need to be here because this is what I've been called to do. And so getting over me and then focusing on others, because the whole point of this radio program is to encourage, comfort other people. And so I kept taking deep breaths, and you kept asking me questions, and you were very encouraging towards me, which helped me get over myself. And so I want to thank you publicly for that.
13 years ago when we were asked to do this radio show, the general manager of KSLR called us. We were on vacation at the beach.
Mm-hmm. I had an issue with him.
And what do you think? And it started out just to be kind of a summer half-hour show. They had an open spot in the morning, and so it was supposed to go 6 weeks, and then they extended another 4 weeks, and then we were done. And it didn't occur to us that we would come back on the air, but he called back again and said, well, here's what I'd like you to consider. And when I said, well, tell me what it would be like. And he said, well, every day. And I said, we'd have to do two things. One, have to change the time. Morning doesn't work. And second, half hour is not enough time. Half hour by the time you do the introduction and share a little bit of what's in your heart. You get one call and the program is over. I said, it need to be an hour program. And I thought, nobody's going to give me an hour to do that. And he called back and said, done, 4 o'clock. And so we started doing it. But he said this. He said, Pastor Ron, you really need to think about this, because 4 o'clock happens every day at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And it's a live program. At the beginning, we had to drive to the studio. Yeah. And there were times when there'd be accidents or traffic would be so bad, and I'm sitting here sweating bullets, as we're getting there, because it's 4 o'clock comes at 4 o'clock. Yeah. But he said it is a life-changing commitment. And I said, well, if this is what God wants me to do, then it won't matter. And you brought up, there are times you don't feel like doing it or things, but it's just not an option. This is what we're called to do, at least part of what we're called to do. And when you make that commitment, you're not making it to an audience, you're making it to the Lord.
Yeah.
And
This isn't volunteer. This is a calling. Yeah. This is a calling. It's not...
explain what you mean by that.
Volunteer. It's not, I'm just going to do it when I feel like it, or if I have time, or if there's nothing else better that, doesn't come up. Okay, we'll see. No, I'm a servant of Jesus Christ. And so, I'm not my own. I was bought at a price. And we were talking about this today at the restaurant with a young man, talking about living the life. He says, oh, well, I'll live the life later, once we get to heaven. No. We live the life now. We look forward to a better life when we get to heaven. But we're to live the life now following Jesus, And what did he do? He came as the ruler, yeah, but he came to serve, not to be served. And so, that's what we get to do.
Well, I don't know what we would have done if somebody would have told us it was going to last 12 years. I don't know.
13 now.
Yeah, it'll be 13 in July. If it happened, I probably would have said, I don't think we can do it for 13 years. Mm-hmm. But it's really been a blessing. So
I love that the Lord doesn't tell you a whole bunch of stuff ahead of time. Like he didn't tell me at all about coming to San Antonio. He didn't tell me at all about was it Mike who called you that time? While we're on vacation, and you didn't tell me that you were getting ready to say, we'd be happy to.
No, I said, from the beginning, I said, Thursday is a date day show, because that Thursday's our day. Yeah. So I said to you, Paula, if we do this, you're going to be there every Thursday. And you gave me that look like, I don't want to, I'm not signing up for this.
I didn't sign up for this. That's right.
And the first time you were on the show, we're getting ready to go to the studio, and you're saying, "Okay, just introduce me, and then you take over."
That's right.
If questions come in, you answer them.
That's right.
And I started to program something along the lines of, "Okay, Paula, what do you think about this?" And I asked you a question, and the look on your face was,
I was going to take this pen that I have in my hand and stab you in the eye. That's what I was going to do. Didn't you not hear what I just finished asking you to do? We're in the car driving. I was driving back then, too. And I said, okay, I'm nervous. I don't know that much. So, come on. If they don't ask for me specifically, you just answer the questions, please, and just leave me out of this. I got you here. Now just go on, Mr. Answer Man. And first thing, hi, welcome to, the program. You get the phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, we're doing good. That's right. Go ahead, Pastor Ron. You the man. Go ahead. And then you looked at me. And it's a good thing that the man was outside the glass mirror, glass window, because I don't know what kind of look I was giving you, but it wasn't friendly, was it? It's like, why are you throwing me under the bus?
That's when my dad taught me to swim. He just threw me in the pool, in the deep end.
That's my dad did that too. He did. He sure did. He said, so I guess that was your way of saying, I'm considering how I may spur you on toward loving good deeds, right? That was your way of throwing me into the pool.
That's right after, do not forsake the assembling together of the saints.
Oh, my gosh. No, that comes next.
That's right before. Okay.
Yeah. 25 is, let us not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. And so that is part of the encouraging as well, because when an encourager, and we know better, when an encourager is down, and you had a depressing question this week as well, the last thing we want to do is be around other people. When you're an encourager, you don't want to go and be the bummed out one, because you're supposed to be the one encouraging other people. And so there's times when you just want to stay at home and, not necessarily sulk, but just not to be around other people, because who wants to be the bummer? I don't want to be the bummer. But the Lord says, don't give up meeting together, because that's when the enemy has a field day. He will just, and I know better. That's why I know to keep coming to church. It's good for me. No, it's the best thing for me, because that's when the enemy gets you all to himself. Everybody else, and that's how you think. Everybody else is at church, but you're not at church. I should have gone to church. Why didn't I go to church? But, so you're having this battle.
You can't win.
You cannot win it.
Either way.
That's right. And so that you don't drive is probably because the Lord said, go to church. You got to get the man to church. And once I'm up and dressed and stuff, might as well go.
As you know, I've only driven once in the last 28 years. And that was our principal, Pastor Matt. Mm-hmm. He has a self-driving Tesla. Mm-hmm. And so he let me sit in the driver's seat. But that's not really driving because the car does everything.
Yeah.
The car even picks the parking place.
Yeah.
You go in, and it always backs in the parking place. So that's the only driving I've done in the last 28 years because of my vision.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
Well, Eric asked the question, and how often do we have to ask for forgiveness about bad thoughts? And I loved your answer. But man, does that ever happen? A lot. You have a bad thought, and it's like, ooh, I don't want to think like that. Ooh, I'm sorry, Lord. It's like an all-day thing. But what you said is that we don't have to ask forgiveness for the bad thoughts. We just don't let them linger, And so even for me, that was a great reminder because I had bad thoughts a lot. And, it's like, why am I thinking that? Why did that come in? I'm trying to read scripture right now,
That's when they really come flooding in.
I'm like, what in the world is going on right now? And Lord, I don't want to be arguing with that person. I don't even want to be thinking about that person right now. I'm trying to hang out with you right now, But that's what the enemy, he's good at that. He's really good at trying to distract you from, with you can do a book report on a book that you read probably in 3rd grade. Me, when I close the Bible, it's like, what did I read? What? I got to go right back and read it again. So this morning when I was asking you, what did you read? I was so happy when you didn't ask me. So what did you read? Well, I know what I read as far as the Proverbs and the Psalms. But what is that? Kind of a thing. And so the enemy just has a field day with our minds. So I really enjoyed that answer of you don't have to ask for forgiveness for all the bad thoughts to come. It's just when you linger like, ooh, yeah, I could push the delete button on that relationship, necessarily. But anyway, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, it's just we're conditioned. We're sort of preconditioned to think the worst about ourselves because we live with our ugly thoughts and we know the things that we've done that aren't pleasing to God. Mm-hmm. And so a bad thought comes and it's like, oh, there it is again. And I mentioned in the answer to that question, I get that a lot from people regarding nightmares and bad dreams and things like that. And they're feeling really guilty and defeated. Well, that's the enemy who's heaping the condemnation. You can't do anything about the thoughts that come in except take them captive and make them obedient to Christ. Yeah. Identify the source. And once you identify the source, you can decide, based on the source, do I want anything to do with them? If the source is the devil? No, I don't want anything to do with them. If the source is Jesus, of course, those are the ones I want to dwell on. In our Bible study last night in Psalm 25, there was a line I asked everybody to highlight: all day long.
All day long.
And, we've got to fight this battle all day long, and the way to do that is to be in the presence of the Lord. So we need to take ownership of our sin, but we don't need to be burdened by that which isn't sin.
Yeah.
And I think the devil's trying to get our focus off of the things that are interfering with our walk with the Lord, in favor of something that is really not our responsibility.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, this one I was laughing at home because you had an anonymous person say, if a pastor's life was really, really bad before being saved, can he be above reproach now? And you talked about Paul being a murderer. And
I said that was he just described my life.
But what I was thinking too is he might want to pick up, or she might. Well, it's a he because of a pastor's life. The book Harvest, because most of the Calvary Chapel pastors that got started, like even Sandy McIntosh was here for our women's retreat, and talking about Mike, who is, you call him the zealot of all the Calvary Chapels. He was a mess, and look how he turned out. Look what God can do. You talk about taking your camera and taking a picture of the before Christ, and then with the Holy Spirit.
He's a modern day Mary Magdalene in the sense that he or she who has been forgiven much loves much, and Mike, he'd blown his brain up on LSD and hash and other things, and
everything.
He couldn't talk, he couldn't communicate. I mean, his brain was just gone.
Yeah.
And he actually had a vision on LSD that a shotgun was put to his brain, and he saw his brain being blown up. He had no capacity to think or communicate.
Yeah.
And when he gave his life to Jesus Christ, all of that came back. Now, he's still not all there, but in a wonderful way.
Sandy was told by the doctors that he'll live, but he's going to be in a vegetative state forever. He's going to have to be in a home somewhere. He's not coming back. Yeah. And so when he showed up at her door, and he was in his right mind, and he asked her, "Do you know Jesus?"
She wasn't punching.
She said, "More than you." But he kept coming back around, and he was intelligible, and he had his right mind, and he wanted to make things right with her, but he wanted to make sure that she knew about Jesus. And she said, "I know more about him than you do." But yeah, so.
Yeah, I think I wish I'd have thought about the book Harvest. If we got families out there, men feel that they're called to be a pastor, and they just don't think I'll measure up. The wives are questioning. It's a great book to read. It's a paperback. It's fast reading. It's I think it's 7 Calvary Chapel pastors, some of the original group that Pastor Chuck sent out to different places, and what the Lord has done. And we're talking, these people were really, really from sketchy backgrounds. I mean, that was the hippie days, the Jesus movement. They were drug addicts.
Yeah. He had black paint on his face and hunched down in his house waiting for his wife to come home so he could kill her, just because he had been in the military and had experienced so much, and the PTSD thing, and the television just happened to come on, and he says he didn't turn it on, it just came on, and the gospel message was being preached.
It was actually Pastor Chuck.
And it was Pastor Chuck.
Yeah.
And life changed.
Yep. He got saved when Chuck asked to give an invitation at the end of the program. And when his wife got home, she's alive because he got saved.
Yeah.
And, of course, Pastor Rawl was a great guy, a real servant's heart. But I guess the point is, when you've been forgiven much, God He just becomes the most important thing in your life, and that changes everything.
Yeah. I mean, we got some stories. We could write a book of the pastors that you have on your staff. They all got a story. Some worse than others, but wow.
We got a young man named AJ in the church who I'm so glad came to the church.
I'm so glad he came to Jesus.
Yeah. But AJ, and he's been with us now for 2 or 3 years.
At least it's gone fast.
And he's got a pastor call on his life. He's got an evangelist call on his life, and everything has changed so radically. But I used to tell the church, look, there's nobody in this room that's been as bad as I am. Nobody's life is as messed up as mine was. And then I think, well, wait a minute, AJ's here now.
Yeah, AJ,
so AJ's worse than me. And the point is, God reaches wherever He has to. Pastor Chuck used to say, to the guttermost.
Yeah.
He reaches wherever he has to reach to get those who he knows are going to cry out to him.
Right out there. In fact, I think if you go online and you put his name in there, it'll come up. He said, I should have been in jail I had like 20 counts against me.
Yeah, he was facing, he said, 16 years.
Yeah.
And he went in to be sentenced. And the judge just said, here's another chance. And he left that day a free man. And boy, has he ever picked up the ball with the Lord and run with it.
Yeah.
And he's been running ever since that happened. So really, really a good thing.
Yeah. So
they've been here almost 7 years. I said 2 or 3 years.
You know why?
That's how fast time goes.
That's right. And tomorrow you'll say, we've come to the end of another week. But you've been saying that for almost 13 years. I can't believe it's that fast. But yeah, get the Harvest book, and it will encourage you greatly. You will probably find that you're not nearly as bad as some of these guys. So I hope that encourages you. Tuesday. What's the day? Thursday. So Tuesday night was our K through 8 awards. How many certificates did you sign? Do you know? For principal and pastor's honor roll? What?
There were a lot of them. We have 130, now probably 140 students. And I signed all of those principal's honor roll and then pastor's honor roll. Pastor's honor roll is all 4.0 or better.
All year?
All year.
The whole year?
Yeah. And I signed so many of them that we got an auto signer now.
There you go.
Because I can't see it. I can't keep in the line. But I went out to the principal. I said, look, don't we have any dumb kids in the school? And I wasn't being mean or anything. It's just, look at, this is a hard school. These kids go to college and they're prepared for it. And our kids have been accepted in Ivy League schools, all the UT schools. I'm thinking, well, certainly all the kids, but they're working really, really hard. One of the things that was said about our basketball team, this was our first year of having a varsity basketball team, and some of those kids, that would have just been a little bit lazy and just tried to pass by, they knew they couldn't play basketball if that was the case.
That's right.
They had to maintain a certain grade point average if they're going to play basketball, and they got busy. To them, they wanted to work hard, and I signed some of those. One of the things that was so funny to me Tuesday night, from one family, the Gomez family.
Okay, yeah.
From one family, we gave certificates to these are the Gomez kids. 3 of those kids got exemplary behavior certificates.
That's their mom.
Yeah, which means there was not a single write-up or reprimand for the entire year. 3 of them. And all I could think about, they were going to get those exemplary behavior awards. Boy, their dad never got one of those. I can promise you that. But that's just...
Yeah.
You get to see the hand of God doing these kinds of things. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I love the little kinder class because they remind me, because there was only 5 of them. There's 7 in their class this year. That's the smallest kinder class I think we've had for a long time. But anyway.
We're making up for it with all the babies we've
There's
had.
12 of them in that class next year. Get ready, Miss Kenyatta. Everybody pray for Miss Kenyatta. Miss K. Anyway, they sing the books of the Bible. And one of the Gomez, their Gomez boy was on there.
He turned it into hip hop.
Yes, he did. We're doing this as a team, but they didn't miss a beat. They missed the beat, but they didn't miss any of the books. And they were just so proud of themselves. And you could tell with Mr. Gomez, he was like, yeah! Did you see me get this? But yeah. They get it right from the beginning. But they've been getting it since they were born. Because even in the nursery, the teachers.
I think the first order of business every new year for kindergarten is to memorize the books of the Bible.
Yeah.
And they do it in song form.
Yeah.
He turned it into hip hop. Paula,
well, you're not going to have... Well, never mind. Thank you for saying yes to the Lord. Thank you for saying yes. Yeah, when the Lord told me that you are the one for life, Thank you. Because I get to be a part of this great school, great church. So I should mention before we go off that the seniors do a play every year. Now, it was really, really fun, but they're going to talk about maybe not having somebody die in their play next year. But you know what they'll probably do, because they're godly kids. They'll probably do the resurrection, and then in that one Jesus dies, and he'll raise again. But yeah, they did a really good job with their play as well. So I just want to be sure to give everybody the credit now, because Tuesday is our high school banquet.
Yeah, that's the hardest one for me, because all these girls look like young women when they get all dressed up and stuff. And it's just like, oh my goodness, I really am old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You've been listening to the Date Day edition of The Word to Stand On for Life. I'm Pastor Ron Arbaugh, and Lord willing, I'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock on AM 630 The Word. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for spending this time with Calvary Chapel's The Word to Stand On for Life with Pastor Ron Arbaugh. The Word to Stand On for Life is on every weekday afternoon at 4, and Pastor Ron invites you to find out more about Calvary Chapel at calvarysa.com. The Word to Stand On for Life was sponsored by Calvary Chapel of San Antonio.